Welcome in to ACC Baseball Etc. This is another in our preseasoning series of the ACC head baseball coaches. I'm so glad to see Dan McDonnell, head man for the Louisville Cardinals. Coach Mac, great to see you. How are things as we begin to brace ourselves to embark on this 2025 season?
Happy New Year, Daron. It's I don't even want to say the calm before the storm, because once we get back from New Year's, man, we're in the storm. We have the ABCA convention. I always like to speak at a state convention. I was down in Louisiana last weekend. We got camp this weekend. We've got a leadoff banquet next weekend, and oh yeah, we're practicing and getting the team ready. I met with the captains yesterday on the 14th, and it was, hey guys, we're literally a month away from opening day, or 4 weeks come on Friday. And so just an exciting time, and just trying to make sure the preparation is at an all-time high. And that's with our focus, that's with our organization, that's with our sense of urgency. And I wanted to make sure our captains could sense that from the coaches, and let's make sure everyone in the program is all on the same page.
You've been doing this at a high level for a long time. I'm curious, how much does this time of year vary from year to year in terms of what you do with your guys to prepare for the season from one year to the next? Does it differ a ton?
It's a little more like Groundhog Day every year. Now, I think there's a balance of, hey, this is our culture, this is the standard, this is who we are. But, you got to be able to adapt a little bit, and you got to make some changes. And sometimes that's, what do you think the team needs? Where do we fall a little short last year? So I think it's a balance of both. But consistency this time of the year, like I said, it's been like that for probably almost 20 years now, where speak at another convention, get ready for camp. Leadoff banquet is awesome. Our leadoff banquet is something else. And this year we're actually 20 years, celebrating 20 years at Jim Patterson Stadium. So a lot of alumni are in attendance. Will Smith, Adam Duvall, Chad Green. We're putting Henry Davis and Tyler Fitzgerald on stage. And so a lot of alumni get to meet all the new players. And I call that the realization moment. That's about 3 weeks from opening day. And that's when new guys stand on stage and look out and go, holy cow, this is kind of a big deal. So it's a pretty consistent, preseason, if you call it that.
Yeah, for sure. Does your team, and we'll get to the guys and what it's going to look like for the Cardinals in this 2025 season here in just a minute, does your team have a mantra yet? I know you're great usually about some off-season reading even for the guys, or taking some sort of mindset from a takeaway, whether it be in film or a quote or what have you. Does this team have something like that to rally around yet?
The book we're covering this year is Chasing Excellence. Ben Bergeron is an outstanding CrossFit trainer. We've covered that book, and we probably have about 4 books that we just cycle in as kids come in your program and spend a few years. You kind of want to give them a little variety. This is one of our staple books. So we covered that in the fall. They had their own copy to read over Christmas. One of the things that I've enjoyed is the ownership that this team has taken. And so I'll tell a quick story. Back in the fall, we're in the Omaha room. We have one of our organization weekly meetings. We're covering a bunch of things, and what I like, what I don't like, how we got to get better. This is what we have coming up, blah, blah, blah. And all right. And usually I clap, meeting ends, and everybody starts to get up and walk out. Well, this particular time I get up and I'm ready to walk out, and nobody's moving. And I kind of look back over my shoulder. I'm like, is everything all right? And they're like, yeah, coach, we're good. We're going to cover a few things while you're gone. And I just remember walking out of the Omaha room, and it was like, and come to find out, it was like they were taking ownership. And I see on the board the 10 commandments of Louisville baseball. And it was like the non-negotiables. This is who we're going to be. And the one that sticks out to me the most, and we made signs and we've got around the facility, is called championship reps. That every rep you take is for a championship. My message at the beginning of the fall in August was, let's prepare to win the ACC. When you look at the history of our program and the great success, we won the Big East, or we were really close to winning the Big East. We won the AAC the one year we were in that league. We've won the ACC 5 times, and those kind of correlated with hosting regionals, super regionals, going to Omaha, or being close to going to Omaha. So for our program to get back to where we want to be, I wanted to make it very clear that we got to compete in the ACC, which we now feel is probably at an all-time high with the balance and the depth and the talent of our league. And so I was setting the tone. Let's be 2025 ACC champions. They took that, and one of their staples was every rep's going to be a championship rep. So I've enjoyed, which is really challenging in this day and age for kids to take ownership when there's so many new faces. Obviously the freshmen and the junior college guys, but now with the transfer portal, and the reality is you're really only coaching these guys for a year, guaranteed, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4. But to get everybody to come together and for them to take ownership, I just felt like, wow, great leadership. Guys are holding each other accountable. And so I'm going to feed off of that. That's kind of a long answer to one of our phrases this year in championship.
No, that's
reps.
good. That's great stuff. Man, what a luxury to have a group of guys that are willing to take the reins in a way like that. That's huge. You mentioned sort of the changing dynamics of college baseball. I mentioned it before. You've been doing this a long time, so you're a good person to ask about this. How do you wrap your head around how the job is significantly different now than it even was 5 years ago?
Yeah, it's change is inevitable. It's a part of life. I think everybody in the athletic world, it's been a lot of drastic change over the past few years. I think it's like anything else. This device right here has a lot of positives and a lot of cool things, but there's negative things that you could pull out of it as well, and bad habits you could get into. And I think, like most things, there's pros and cons to the landscape of college athletics right now. I think for me, control the controllables and accept the things you can't control. Be willing to adapt and make changes, but have a standard, be who you are. And I'm reading Coach Keith Madison has a new coaching book out, and I was reading some of it last night, and it's good perspective, and it's a good kind of reminder. Hey, why do you coach? Why did you get into coaching? And as I'm reading the words, it's just really resonating with me. Like, you love to compete. You love to help others. You love to rally a group to come together as a team and do something special. You obviously realize you're doing more than just trying to help them win games. You go back to your philosophy in recruiting and our 3 pillars: academic success, player development. That's a baseball player development and a person development, and then team success. And so, it's a balance of adapting, but you got to be who you are and love on these kids, coach them up. Let's try to do something special together. And then, as we've learned, at the end of the season, it's a lot of people coming and going, and that's the world we're in. And I think coaches are kind of preparing, or at least mentally, like, we think there's going to be some more drastic changes, right, in the next couple years with the revenue sharing and these other things, and what's going to happen to NIL, and Will there be some borders around it, or is it just going to be kind of a free for all? So I think we're all kind of, I don't know if hoping's the right word, but preparing that, hey, we still got a lot of changes probably in the next few years.
No doubt. I'm reminded of a conversation you and I had. I can't remember what series it was that I was calling, but you were down on the field during BP, and we caught up for just a moment talking about the transfers that you had on last year's team, and it was a quick conversation, but it got into sort of like your evolution and how you had sort of come around on, okay, now I've got a hard and fast philosophy for how to bring these guys in, what we want in a transfer player, what is going to be a good fit here for a transfer player, which is innately just a different scenario than trying to figure out what a good fit is for an incoming freshman, right? So I've seen the evolution firsthand from you and other programs to just kind of deal with the circumstances, for lack of a better way to put it, right? Accept them as you put it, which is probably more eloquent to say. And it's occurred to me that it's worked out for you guys on a number of occasions. You guys had have had some success in recent years with some transfers. I want to start with this year's group with a few players I got to see over the summer with Team USA. Returners, Zion Rose, Patrick Forbes, and Tucker Biven. In the cases of Forbes and Biven, right-handers who will be presumably huge for you guys off the mound this year. Can I start with Rose? He quickly became one of my favorite players in the league, just with how hard he plays. And I had seen him at, I think it was PDP League the summer before, so I was familiar with him when he got to Louisville, and the type of versatile athlete that he is. What's the plan with him? Is he outfield only this year? What's going to be his role moving forward?
Yeah, we went into the summer, and he caught a little bit as a freshman and DH'd and ran a little bit around the outfield, but we were preparing to, transition. Hey, he's going to be a full-time catcher. And as the summer went on, the Cape Cod League, and we met down at USA Baseball, and I don't blame him. He's so offensive. He's so physical. He plays so hard, to be a big league catcher in 162 games. And is that the best thing for his body? And hey, I've shown I'm good enough, maybe offensively. And he sees the success. Not only we've had as, catcher you with great catchers, but we've had a lot of great outfielders running around out there, and what a good job we do of developing. So it was like, hey, coach, I'd like to transition to a full-time outfielder. And so, all right, let's do it. And I thought this fall I saw a lot of growth there. The one thing about Zion that I've always said, man, he wants to be coached. He wants to get better, similar to a Henry Davis, where you could look at kids and see they want to be great, right? He wants to be great. So we had a good fall, but he's only been out there for so many months. So I think he'll be good this year, and hopefully he'll just keep working to get better. And I can tell you what, from being in our program for a year, he knows clearly, like, wow, this guy is obsessed with outfield play. And I coach the infielders, but there's an ego or an arrogance or a confidence of, guys, we better have the best outfield in the country. Like, just demand it, because we recruit good athletes and tough kids. And then Coach Vrabel does a phenomenal job of coaching them. And then, hey, you got the head coach is, we've almost got a little bit of an air about us. Like, when the ball hits the ground, sometimes it's like, how'd that ball hit the ground? Like, how do we not catch that ball? And so, but I think it's good for the outfielders. Like, you got to have that type of mentality. And we just feel like our tradition, we have been great in the outfield. And it doesn't mean everybody is Levi Usher or Adam Engel. We've got converted catchers going out there or infielders going out there. But you see Adam Duvall is a Gold Glove outfielder, and he's not your most athletic big league type outfielder, but man, he's guy's playing center field in the big leagues, and you're like, wow. So it's been fun to see the transition with Zion, coaching him up, just trying to help him be the best that he wants to be.
Yeah, and that figures to be, correct me if I'm wrong, a little bit of a crowded spot for you guys in the outfield. I mean, safe to say Zion's spot, assuming he plays like he can, is etched in stone. Eddie King is back for you guys in the outfield. I really liked what I saw out of Lucas Moore as a freshman last year, and there's some other names there. What goes into the equation and the the calculus of determining, okay, who are our three, or will that be, will that have sort of a soft edge where it's more than three and you're going to kind of rotate them in and out?
Yeah, I'm smiling because you see the challenge of roster management in the summer. Going into the summer, Zion's a catcher. We think Eddie King's going to sign. Hey, let's get someone in the transfer portal. We land this All-American Garrett Pike, but wait a second, we're hearing rumors he could sign because he's a junior. And so in 1 minute, you're going, okay, we won't have Eddie. We'll lose Pike. And so, yeah, we got Lucas Moore and a bunch of other good young players. And then Zion becomes a full-time outfielder. Eddie King says, Coach, I want to come back for my senior year. And I do believe, Lynn, Eddie's close because he put together a great second half of the season last year. Heck, I think he hit 5 home runs in an ACC weekend and just finished with like 14 and 60 or something, and really just not a great year for what we think he can be. Garrett Pike says, no, I don't want to sign. I want to come to Louisville and get my degree and play 1 year. And so, yeah, it's a good problem to have because we're old. The crowded just gives us some depth, but it also allows us to manage bodies well. If one thing Zion showed the ability to do is he could DH. And if you play 4 or 5 games a week, I'm trying to manage his legs. And gosh, we play at Miami, and I think it'll be DH's Friday and Saturday night. We go in the extra innings, and I catch him on a Sunday early game. Like, not the best coaching in the world. But I wanted to just see what he could handle. And, I was like, man, I apologize to him. Like, so I want to manage his body well. But between him and Eddie King, who's also DH, you just got a nice little rotation that we can move guys around in the outfield. You said it, Lucas Moore. I mean, that's one of our electric, dynamic center fielders that just, we say floats. And I go back to Boomer Whiting, stole 73 bases in 2007 when we went to Omaha, and the history of great center fielders. And I think Lucas led the Northwoods League in stolen bases. I'm almost positive he broke the program record up there. So nice depth in the outfield. Hey, competition never hurts. And we've always said that as an amateur, you need to look to your right or look to your left and go, man, this guy's every bit as good as me. That's going to help you. What makes the Jordans and the Bradys and the Jeters the greats was they didn't need someone standing by them. They kind of respected, hey, this guy can take my job. This guy could be the next shortstop of the Yankees. This guy could be the next quarterback of the Patriots. That's what made him great. And that's what sometimes amateurs lack because they were the best player in high school. They played on this travel team. They really never went through a lot of competition. And so we've always felt like, hey, in our program, yes, we've got roster limits, but we got talent. And this guy to your right or left is every bit as good as you. So, man, you better be on your P's and Q's. You better be doing those championship reps every day. So I think it's better for Zion and Eddie and Lucas and Pike that I'm not just the chosen one, man. I got to show up every day.
Yeah, no, again, good problem to have. Maybe it pans out where you can start all 4 with with that DH spot, and there are some others in the mix there. And just to put a bow on Pike, man, he was a monster at Toledo. 21 home runs, 55 driven in. He was their everyday center fielder, so that's a big get for you guys if that translates to the ACC level. Which, I mean, I've seen him play. I have no expectation that it wouldn't, for sure. In the infield, this is where there's maybe a little bit more question. I think Matt Klein probably stands to be the starting catcher or usual catcher. Not that you guys won't use other guys. How do you feel about the way the infield around that has come together?
I think it's good to start with Matt Klein playing a lot as a freshman. The unfortunate knee injury, he loses that summer, he loses the fall. He runs out there as a sophomore in the spring and was just rusty and just lost that a year of development. Got it going as the spring went on, and of course has a really good summer in the Cape. Great fall, and looks to be, catcher U in line with our Will Smith, Henry Davis, Dalton Rushing, Jack Payton, and just the great catchers from our program. We'll definitely utilize some other. We got some depth there as well, and good talent. But Matt's very offensive too. Great understanding of the strike zone. Can really hit just about anywhere in the lineup. Can also play a little bit of first base. So kind of like a Dalton Rushing. He looks very comfortable over there. But as we go to first base, and we had a freshman emerge, and we try not never get too high on a freshman because you just, a lot of them struggle. And then occasionally you have Zion Rose and you have some that are great, So, but Tague Davis, just a really talented left-handed power hitter. His dad is Ben Davis, who was a great big league catcher. And his mom was also a college athlete and a college coach. So his bloodline, his parents did an amazing job with him. And he had just a really good standout fall. It's hard to have a standout fall as a freshman. Patrick Forbes did a little bit when he was a two-way player. And so as we talk about, Matt Klein has the ability to be like Dalton Rushing. Tague Davis, showed that, hey, he's plenty good enough to play first base. When you go to the middle infield, for me, the whole infield revolves around Alex Alicea, who played a lot as a freshman. It's a Christian Knapczyk type of comp where Coach Snyder and I say it often. We think he could lead the ACC in hits. The ball's going to get moved. It's a switch hitter. It's a high contact guy. It's a tough kid. Really nice freshman year. And he has the ability to play second or short, and we kind of bounced him around. And then really it's that other infield spot that's up for grabs. Kamayu Neighbors, one of our transfer grads from California, really good fall, another switch hitter. Tanner Shiver, our Tennessee Tech guy that played football there as a young athlete and then transitioned to baseball. Byram Hott, a good shortstop from Marist. And so as we talked about, that's where we use the transfer portal to plug some holes and have some older guys there in the middle to compete. And then as you work towards third base, you have any one of those infielders can slide over to third. But Jake Monroe, he was one of our USA junior college All-American guys, played with that USA team this summer, played in the Northwoods League. Just an older, mature, really versatile third base. Could always go to first, but we feel like Jake has a chance to solidify that corner. But good depth, good competition in the infield. We feel like we've got options at every spot, which as a coach, that probably keeps me up at night as much as anything. If this guy rolls his ankle, who's going to run out there, and always making sure we have that. But I feel good, even though Alex Alicea is maybe the youngest infielder, sophomore next to Tague Davis. Man, we put a lot of old guys in the mix to run out there and compete.
Yeah, I think it's smart construction on your guys' part. Monroe from John A. Logan College in Illinois, 23 home runs last season. He hit 415 and is just a physical guy, over 6 feet tall, 220-pound player. So that, I mean, I think that portends well for the Cardinals. I don't know. And I think it's a fluid situation in terms of where everybody ends up and what their specific roles are. But man, there's a lot in the cupboard for you guys. Moving to the pitching staff, the assumed ace is Patrick Forbes, and it sounds like he is a PO, a pitcher only. Now, is that the plan with him moving forward?
Exactly, and that's where we just think the upside is through the roof. One, because he's super talented. Two, because he's been a real two-way player his entire life, and probably had 100 at bats or so as a true freshman. Ton of power, but he got hurt last year at Wake Forest hitting, broke his hand, so we lost him for a little bit of a lat strain, taking all those swings and pitching. Then we lose him because of an HBP, and we kind of think, okay, let's just this summer, great for Team USA, great in the Cape. I joke because I think Mom still wants him to hit and pitch, but he's too valuable on the mound. We just like Jared Poland and others. Let's just see if he's just an everyday pitcher, 24/7, how good he can be. And so, yeah, he's a key cog in our pitching staff, but I like the depth and talent that we have now, maybe more so than obviously we've had the past few years. I go back to, you mentioned Tucker Biven. So Forbes and Biven, two of our USA guys. You have other older guys also returning, like a Justin West, a Daniel Levitz, who's coming off the DL, and guys that can help us. And then the other two areas we look at is our freshman and sophomore classes. We didn't lose a draft pick, which is unusual. As long as I've been doing this, I think I had one other year where we didn't lose a draft pick. You lose a first rounder, maybe a fifth rounder or an eighth rounder. We lost three guys in like 22, but in 23 and 24, every kid showed up. So when I say every kid showed up, I'm talking Parker Detmers, Colton Hartman, Ty Stark. I'm talking Jack Brown, Jake Greger, Alex Gay. There is talented freshman and sophomore arms. And so get those talented freshman, sophomore arms to, grow up quickly as you have to in college baseball, and then add in those guys in the portal. Brennan Cutts, the Missouri Valley League Pitcher of the Year. Peter Michael, a really talented pitcher from the Big Ten, had a great summer in the Northwoods League. And then Eli Hoyt, who's a junior college transfer, but he was committed to go to a California school. They made a coaching change. He went in the portal, and we grabbed him from the Northwoods League. So 3 older pitchers in the portal combined with the older returners and those 2 young classes. I like our options. Coach Williams has a phenomenal group to work with, so we're very optimistic.
Yeah, as am I. I think it's a really intriguing group that I'm excited to see. What did you see out of Patrick and Tucker and what they got out of the summer with Team USA?
It's, having done this as long as I have, it's always fun to see them come back with just another level of confidence. Playing in the ACC, playing in the Cape Cod League. Yeah, you go through some real growing pains. You get kicked in the gut. You fail, but you get tougher. And then when you put on that USA uniform, and now you're pitching for your country, and you're pitching against, I think they pitched against, was it Taiwan, or somebody, not to mention just the Stars and Stripes itself, and then to face another country those guys were phenomenal. So they just come back with just a little more confidence and that seasoning and that maturity as to like, man, I belong and it's my time. And there's that little even more of that, just that swagger and that confidence. And it's fun to, and what that does is that kind of like it did with Detmers and Miller and McKay and McClure and Bennett and all the great pitchers from our program. What that does is that kind of permeates throughout the pitching staff. And you need that. Like you got to have that one cow, right, with the bell hanging from it. Like you got to have that horse, that leader. And we feel like with Forbes and Bivin, we kind of have two. One's a front end starter guy, Bivin, who could start if we need him to, but just seems to be really good in that closer role. Toughness, competes, gets a lot of ground balls, can pitch back-to-back days. So I kind of like those guys being the front end, back end of what, like we say, a talented pitching staff.
I like it. I love that your observation is the confidence that they gain from that situation. I talked to, this has been years ago, but Ted Wood was a former Team USA guy and a high draft pick, and he described it as achieving an extra layer of armor. And so he felt more armored after that experience when he faced off against, in spring training, he's pitching against Barry Bonds and things like that. You have that extra confidence because you've been places, not that exact place, but something that you can pull from that experience that'll get you through it. So good. I'm excited to see those guys with that added extra layer of armor when they're in the Cardinals uniforms this year. I'm looking forward to it. Dan, thanks as always for the time. Best of luck this 2025 season. I'm sure I'll see you at some point calling some of the action around the ACC. But great to talk, and we'll catch up again soon, all right?
You too. Appreciate what you do, Daron. Thank you.